this. Oh, I got goosebumps. You know, I really got goosebumps because every person I saw wanted to visit. That doesn't usually happen. But everyone that I had been discouraged about visiting had been waiting. Some hadn't been visited, some hadn't been seen for a while. I mean, they were one woman who really wasn't on my list, but because she's Methodist and she had been there the last time I was there, I thought, I better check on this person, and I read her history. And I went in, and she also was in a really bad situation, but alert. And I said, I know you didn't request on, but you know, I'm a Methodist pastor. I see you're Methodist. I said, I just wanted to know if you'd like me to just come in. And she said, yeah. So she told me a little bit, and I said, well, is there anything I can do? And she said, could you just sit down and talk to me? So I listened to her story, and we shared, and she cried, and all those things. When we went into the ICU room with this lady from Uruguay, I had the rosary. Now, you know how you pray the Lord's Prayer. There's just this calming connection, right? Whether I believe in the theology of the rosary or anything like that, it doesn't matter. What I do know is that prayer, in whatever your tradition is calming. And so I told the daughter, do you think your mother would like a rosary? And she just, she'd love one. So we put the rosary, because she had tubes all over, we put the rosary in her hand and she squeezed it. And we had a prayer together. And her blood pressure dropped. Not negative, positively went down. And she found some peace. The family was so touched that God heard their prayer and provided someone that was there. What I want to say in the correlation is that when God is present, when we acknowledge our need for God, God can calm the storm. God doesn't always heal the way we want. God doesn't always do it in the fashion like I was thinking Matthew was going to get a little different type of care. But God can calm the storm. And that's what he did in the scripture, and it happens today. And I got to see it by being God's ambassador with the different people that I visited that night, to just calm the storm, to be present, to know that God is God. There's a scripture, and it's in the different Gospels Jesus talks about. He says, you know, God cares for those sparrows and ravens and birds in the sky. Look at how beautiful they are. God cares for the lilies of the field. How many of you have lilies right now? Just all over blooming. And how beautiful they are, aren't they? Beautiful weather this year that we're having, the rain and the sun and the heat. He says, if God cares for them, don't you think he's going to care for you more? You who have been created in God's image. You who have the heart of God instilled in you. Don't you know you don't have to worry? God is with you. I think that's what that story is about. The disciples hadn't gotten there yet, but they learned through experience, one step at a time. Feeding the multitudes when there's no food, calming the storms when he's present. May we too hold out and claim God.
I just want to say something, Anita. The other night when the water was rushing in and it was raining so hard, I did go outside and I prayed, God, this rain, please let this rain stop. And you know, it was just like almost instantaneous. The water didn't stop coming in the house, but it stopped outside.
Wow.
It was just like that. It just,
for
really,
you, God was
it really
there.
was. That was what I did. God, this rain has to stop.
I know.
And it did.
Yeah.
Not totally, but...
Right, because it rained again later, and it rained again later, and you still have the water coming off the hills. But you see, God does care. And if nothing else, you felt that God was near you. You weren't alone.
Yeah.
And you could weather the storm no matter what happened. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well, let us take together. The best gift I can give you as a pastor is to understand what Philip Yancey writes. Don and I use him as a daily devotion. He says, sometimes when he doesn't feel God and he's struggling, he does what he's supposed to do because that's what he's supposed to do. is called obedience. He reads, he prays, whatever it is. And when he is obedient, guess what? He experiences God. So often we wait until the storms are raging and there's nothing else, and we call out, and God is there. But if we continue to be obedient, if we do what God says, just like the disciples fed the people, even though they couldn't believe it would happen, they went out in the boat without Jesus. But if we are obedient, God will be with us. And so let us close with this covenant together in unison. If you turn in your red hymnal as the band is coming up to 607.